Hi,
I try
everyone.
not to do too many bloopers.
There we are. That's Barbara for you, my blooper friend and partner in
I know.
crime. Hey, everyone. Welcome to Story Mantra. I'm your host, Anju Gattani. And the reason I do these videos is to help people like you, newbie seasoned authors, understand what happens behind the scenes in the real world of publishing. And today we don't just have an author, we have a USA Today best-selling author. Her name is Barbara Conrey. And as you saw, she already introduced herself with a fantastic blooper because I worked with Barbara and three other authors that made us five in March 2021's one-week event called A Fistful of Books, where the five of us banded together and gave away 25 ebooks to five winners. So each winner walked away with a book from each of us. What we learned about each other was the spirit of cooperation. What I learned about Barbara is her open-hearted spirit to do whatever she can when she can, not just in the world of books, but in the world of being a wonderful woman. And I thought I have to have Barbara on now. She's just too good. Not only is she accomplished the USA Today bestselling author list, but she wrote a book. And I thought there is so much research that has gone into this book. I actually asked Barbara, Barbara, are you a doctor? Because there's just, you feel like you're walking with a doctor in this book. And she was like, no, Anju, it's all the research I did. So who is Barbara Conrey? Barbara Conrey is the USA Today bestselling author of Nowhere Near Goodbye. Ta-da! Barbara, could you hold up your paperback copy, please, for us?
I sure can.
There we are, Nowhere Near Goodbye, digital and paperback, and you'll find the link below the video to make your purchase. She published on August 4th, 2020 by Red Adept Publishing. So this is an author who published with a small house, but she struck it big. So believe me, when I say nothing can stop you, she's living proof and a fabulous book that nothing can stop you. It's her debut novel. Previously, Barbara worked in the healthcare industry before opting for an early retirement, which lasted all of 3 months. Can you imagine Barbara retiring? I can't. She then accepted a finance position for which she had absolutely no background. And 4 years later, she decided to write a book, but not about finance. Makes sense, doesn't it? Travel is Barbara's passion, along with reading, writing, hiking, and exploring antique shops. Her greatest love is Miss Molly, her adorable rescue beagle. There are stories to be told about beagles, and Barbara hopes to incorporate them, some of them, into her books. Barbara lives in Pennsylvania, close to family and friends. Welcome, Barbara. We are thrilled to have you on Story Mantra, where you're going to teach me about writing stories.
Oh, thank you, Anju. I'm so happy to be here today.
Well, thank you for taking the time to be with us. And I have a bunch of questions to ask you, which I do for every author. And I know when we talked previously, you mentioned something really important about age not being a factor. Can you tell me a little bit about what that means?
It's true. I will tell you honestly that when I first submitted my book, I literally went through every social media that I belonged to and took out anything that had the year of my birth. I did not want anybody to know how old I was. I just wanted to hide the fact. And then not too long later, I thought, why? Why do I want to hide the fact that as of this moment, I'm 71. When I sent my book to a publisher, I was 69. When the book published, I was 70. And now I'm 71, almost done with my second book. And why should I hide it? Why should I not be proud of the fact that I'm 71? I don't think age is a factor. I think I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm able to write. So it's a number. I'm a number.
It's just a number, and numbers really don't count in the world of publishing, do they? Because we're
No,
all
they
about
don't.
words.
Not
We're
that
all
number
about words.
anyway.
So tell me, how did you get on the path to publishing, and how did you start making your way forward?
What I did was I really had a long conversation with myself, and I thought, okay, I wrote this book. I do want people to read it. And how did I want to go about doing that? And I saw two paths. I saw agents and bigger publishers, big 5 publishers, and I saw small publishers. Now, some small publishers still require an agent. Most do not.
Mhm.
I happen to know a few friends who publish their books with the publisher that I have, Red Adept Publishing. They were very well spoken of, and I thought, okay, I'm going to send my book to this publisher. It was the only publisher I sent my book to. I did not query agents. I did not query other small presses. I sent my book to this one press, and I thought, this is it. It's this or nothing, because this is, as far as I know, a really good press, and I just don't think I could take a no.
Right.
Well, I didn't have to take a no, but I think had I received a no, I think I would have rethought my process and looked at other small presses. I think I would have gotten recommendations for other good small presses. I don't think I would have just buried my book in a drawer.
Well,
But that's what I did.
how did you filter your decision of this unique, finding out about a press and saying, okay, this is it, I'm going to start here? Because starting anywhere is such a big question mark for any and all of us. So how did you know this seemed like a right fit for you?
I didn't find it to be difficult. I found it because of the recommendations that I received from authors who had published their books with Red Adept, because I knew those authors, because I had read the books, because I felt they were really well presented, well edited, with beautiful covers. I found it easy to make that decision. I didn't have to filter that choice at all. It was my choice. And I think everybody makes their own choice. Some people, their dream has to be Big 5.
Hmm.
My dream was this. My dream was Barbara Conrey
Right.
on this book. That was my dream. Everything that came after that, I never even dreamt of. I never even thought of. I hope that makes sense.
Well, it does, because we all start somewhere and we never know where to take the next step or how to go about it, because some things are just out of our control. And what I've
True.
been told all the time is the only thing you can control is the book you're working on and writing. And
That is so true.
of course, who you're querying and which path you decide to take. So, hearing about so many stories of authors trying to find agents, not getting an agent, or authors trying to find a publisher and being rejected, and of course, rewriting, revisiting the work, and then of course, changing your story sometimes. Do you even change your story to suit somebody else? That's a whole other question altogether.
Oh, and I did a lot of editing with this book. In fact, originally this book started out to be 2-person point of view.
Oh.
And yeah, and the first thing my editor said was, Kate has to go. Now, if you remember, because I know you've read the book,
Mhm.
Kate was the little girl who died. And actually, that's where my story began. My story began with Kate, and then all of a sudden, Emma, the doctor who discovered a cure, just came into my head, and she took over. So Kate was always speaking from heaven. When my book initially started, which it still is, the book starts, the prologue starts with Kate talking in heaven, but through the entire book, Kate talked from heaven. But my editor said, no, that is not going to work. So I had to literally rewrite half the book, and it turned out to be such a stronger, better book. And that was the other thing I discovered, that I knew going into it with Red Adept, that they're known for their editing.
Mhm.
And I knew I needed that. I knew I needed, and I'd had beta readers, critique partners, but I knew I needed a strong editor, and they provided that. That's part of their whole deal.
I can't believe
So,
that Kate actually had a point of view that she was talking to throughout the
oh
story.
yes, oh, throughout the entire book, yes. And I had to take it all out, except for the prologue and the epilogue. And what's funny is I took her scenes and I actually made them either flashbacks of Emma's, or this is where I created Miss Maggie. And Miss Maggie, who is the older friend of Emma's, the person who Emma turns to when she is distraught and needs help, I actually gave her a lot of Kate's personality. And it was so exciting that my second book is actually Miss Maggie's book. So it turned out to be,
Oh my gosh.
so it's actually, yes, my second book is actually Miss Maggie's story. And it turned out to be a fascinating miracle. It turned out to be just amazing. I just don't know how to explain it any other way. It certainly wasn't forethought on my part. It just kind of happened.
So for all of you who are wondering what Nowhere Near Goodbye is all about, and I'm not a great person to précis a book or summarize it, but I will tell you this. It's from what I understood of the book and took away. After I closed the book and I reached the end, I couldn't read another book for several days because I had the characters in my head. And the story is about this little girl. And so this is where I'm coming from when I read the story. Allie, who's looking for a mom, a little girl who's looking for a mom. She has a mom, and mom is there, but not there. And Emma, who is a doctor who is trying to find a cure and trying to cure something from the past, which she can't rewind the past and fix it, but she wants other people, she wants to put that other people in that position so she can cure the medical illnesses that they are currently enduring or might find out they're enduring. So it's a way of her salvation to be able to find a cure for other people. Am I correct, Barbara?
Yes, you're absolutely correct. I love hearing someone else talk about what the story is,
Well,
because
this is what it needs to
everybody,
be.
yes, that's the beauty of this.
And so you
That is
go through the story.
absolutely.
I love how you sit there and watch Emma debate between should I spend time with my husband and daughter, which is where every mom's dilemma lies, family versus career. But this is not career. This is about saving lives. And so you're walking through the hospital, you're walking in the ER, you're walking in the OT with Emma, and you're watching things and smelling the antiseptic. You're seeing these dead bodies, these partially living people roll by, and you're thinking, my God, you know how to save them. But at the same time, she has a daughter who needs to be emotionally saved. And therein lies the conundrum of every woman's dilemma. Where do you go? And she has a loving husband. Tim loves her to death. Um, he's a fabulous husband. But of course, how much can he do? He can't be a mom, which is not what he expected, but he has to take on that role. And so everybody is taking more of the burden of this dynamic family relationship because Emma is taking on the role of making sure she can save people's lives. And therein lies her commitment because she cannot undo the past. And it's a beautiful book. And I'm not surprised it became a USA Today best-selling book because like I told you, after reading the book, I couldn't read anything for a few days because I was still living through Emma and thinking about Allie and thinking about Tim. And I love the end. I just loved it because it leaves everything open to interpretation and exploration of what happens next, which is why I couldn't read another book.
That
So,
was the first thing my editor asked me. What happens next?
and you're like, the story begins again, I'm guessing.
Well, it starts way back when Miss Maggie is a teenager, and it goes through her entire life.
Right.
Because when Miss Maggie meets Emma, Emma is an infant and Miss Maggie is 60 years old. And that ties into the panel I was in last night regarding the role of older women in fiction, like not just as authors, but as main characters. There is a place for older women in fiction, and all of the authors I was involved with last night, their primary character was an older woman. In my case, it was a secondary character, but I don't know, I was really fortunate. They put me in there with them, and I grabbed at it. It was like I was not turning that down. And
Well,
it was so much fun.
I mean, so help us understand, Barbara. I know that, in today's world, there's a lot of social media marketing required and, decisions to make on how you want to promote and market your book. And of course, everybody's trying to get a status or a best-selling author label for themselves. How did you get to that point in your career where your book came out and it became almost like an instant USA Today best-selling book?
Well, it wasn't instant. It was 5 months, which might seem instant, but it was 5 months after the book released that I hit the USA Today. It just so happens that Red Adept is also very big on doing BookBub promotions, and I will talk about BookBub whenever you're ready. I just cannot speak highly enough about it. But I did know this. USA Today was never in my plan. I mean, I had a plan, and the plan only went as far as getting the book published.
Mhm.
I literally was such a novice at becoming an author that I never really gave a lot of thought to getting it into a wide audience, to the point where on release night, I actually panicked thinking, and I had a Zoom release party because obviously 2020, we couldn't do anything in person. But I thought, oh my God, people are going to read my book. And because it was Zoom, I literally had people all over the country and in several different countries who attended that night. And because the book came out that day, some people bought it first thing in the morning and read straight through so that they were praising that book that night.
Wow.
At my Zoom party. I was amazed. I was so proud and so happy. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever experienced, barring, childbirth and raising my children and all of that. It was such a surprise. But as far as marketing goes, oh my, I made mistakes. I did good things. One of the things that I did that I really strongly suggest to everybody, there are so many Facebook book club groups, and they are manned by administrators who really want to help authors. And their readers are people who love authors. And they invite you, or you ask to be invited onto their platform so that you can talk about your book. So rather than having 6 things to do that week of release, I only did like 1 or 2 because I was literally exhausted.
Mm.
And I know my own limitations, and I just wanted to take it slow. But I started building on doing the Facebook they're called author takeovers. I started talking on these different platforms about my books. I started giving books away. I have given away so many books, but I don't regret it at all because people receive the book as a prize, you know, when I'm doing these author takeovers. They take pictures of the book, they review the book, they tell other people about the book. It's just like a gift that keeps on giving. And
A great way to
so,
put it, Barbara, a gift that keeps on giving.
yeah, it's like, and it doesn't cost anything to do that.
Right.
It takes your time. It can be exhausting. In fact, I've had some of these administrators, they contact me. I don't have to contact anybody. They come to me and say, will you do this? Absolutely, I will. I have never turned anybody down.
Right.
I will help anybody. And so I do these promotions and because they're helpful to me too. But they say, our readers love you. And I said back to them privately, and I'm exhausted because they want to talk to me. And everybody that makes a comment, I go in and answer that comment.
Right.
I go in and interact with these people because they love it and I love it too. And yes, it takes time. Sometimes I will spend an entire day responding to comments because I've done a takeover and people are answering the question I asked, like, you know, what's your favorite book, or what kind of book do you like to read, or what did you think about this? I try to find out more about them, because along with books, the other thing people like to talk about is themselves. And if they take the time to answer me, I want to respond back. I want to tell them, I never thought about that, or that's a great idea, or well, what did you do about this? I'll even get them going back and forth 2 and 3 times, you know, because we're having a conversation.
Right.
And I think, like, wouldn't you love to do that with some big name author? I mean, I would totally love to do that with some like Jodi Picoult, or, you know, I mean, wouldn't you? But, you know, they're like, they can't possibly have the time to do that with all of their fans, but I've got that time. I can make that time.
Right.
And I find that to be my number one marketing
Strategy.
Strategy.
Yep.
Yes, I do. I just, and I don't even know. I think I picked it up just by watching. I think I watched other authors do that. And I thought, oh, you know, and some of them I see they don't respond at all. And I'm sure it's because they don't have time. But I thought, I will make time. And, you know, I hope I can always make time. But I don't know.
Right.
But that's my plan. You know, I think it's important.
Well, could you talk a little bit about BookBub and explain what BookBub is to us and how that works?
Okay, BookBub is the greatest gift to both readers and to authors. For readers, you sign up for BookBub and you tell them what kind of books you like to read, who your favorite authors are, and every day you will get an email that tells you this author who you have selected, he's having a special sale and his book is now $2.99 or $1.99. And so if you want to buy this book, today is the day to do it. Now, of course, it's always Kindle books or any ebook, because they go across all the platforms. They go with Barnes and Nobles and Apple and Kobo, which is nice. It's not just Amazon. And but it is always ebooks. So number one, you have to like to read ebooks. For authors, it is a social platform unlike any other. You join as an author, and your first goal is to have followers. So you follow other authors that you admire, you follow readers, friends, you follow whatever people you know on different Facebook reading groups, and they follow you. And then all of a sudden you get people you've never even heard of are following you, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing. And then you can post book reviews on BookBub.
Okay.
What I like about this is I have never seen a nasty book review on BookBub. Everybody plays nice. If you like the book, you can rate it and review it, or you can just rate it and recommend it. And the author gets a chance to respond and say, thank you. And I always respond when people review my books on BookBub. I always respond and I say, thank you so much for this recommendation, this review. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And again, you're building a connection. Where BookBub really comes in to play as far as getting listed on big lists like USA Today is you can purchase, because obviously this is a business. They don't charge you to join. They don't charge readers or authors to join. You've got a platform there, just like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram. But if you want to build up, you can, or your publisher can put your book into their queue for a possible daily deal, which is what a daily feature deal, which is what I had, which is, and it's been known as like the primo of BookBubs. First I had, and it's the US ad. First I had the international, which basically was just Canada, Australia, UK, and India. And I did so well on that I hit #1 in both Australia and Canada.
Wow.
And my publisher said, you've got a really good shot at a US BookBub. If you get US BookBub, you've got a good shot at getting USA Today, because I did really well on the international, for which I did I did nothing. I did no publicity. That's what I was advised, is not to do any publicity for it. But I still did really well. So I did get the US BookBub, and I learned a lot about how to promote that. And what I did was I basically bought space in vendor professional newsletters so that they would advertise my book on sale the day before the BookBub ad. Because what my publisher did was she put my book on sale a few days before the BookBub ad and a few days after. She did it for a 7-day range, because that's what the USA Today goes. It goes from, I think, Monday to Sunday. There's a 7-day range where they will look at how many books sold in that period. So she put my book on sale for all of those days, but BookBub advertised my book to every BookBub follower in women's fiction, which is basically a lot. It's like in the millions. I, on my own, I hired these, or bought space in these newsletters, so that the price was advertised the day before, so that by the time people got the BookBub ad, they already saw that my ranking was really good. I think my ranking when I started out on my BookBub day was, out of the top 100 books in Amazon, I was number 75. That's what I started with. I ended with number 8.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was definitely worthwhile. It was not astronomical to do that. The price was relatively, it was reasonable. It was definitely reasonable. It was the hardest week of my life. It was like, how do you feel about something that you never even thought of? And then all of a sudden it's dangling in front of you and you think, oh, I really want this. I really want this. It was exhausting.
Yeah.
it was, and then I didn't know, like, how long is it going to take till they announce it? So they don't announce it till like the following Wednesday. But what I didn't know was they don't announce it until like 5:30 at night. All that day I'm waiting and I'm hearing nothing, and I'm like just beside myself. And finally my publisher called me and she said, well, how does it feel to be a USA Today bestselling author?
Oh my gosh, Barbara, that must have felt like you were on top of the world.
Oh my gosh, it was, and she's laughing and I'm laughing and crying, and it was pretty awesome.
I can
It,
imagine.
it was really, it was never in my game plan.
Wow.
But once that was dangled in front of me, I wanted it so badly. And
Well,
that's kind of hard to admit,
yeah,
but
I mean, it's an incredible achievement. It really is, to have come out with a book, but then to see it rise to the level it did. And for all of those who haven't read the book, please go and buy the version that you're comfortable with, whether it's a Kindle, Kobo, iTunes, or paperback version. You must read the book. It really will make you step back and think, especially as a woman, where do your priorities lie? And I think for me, it was a deeper question of who am I trying to save? And like I said, it's a very deep book. I loved it. And, I'm so glad that even before I read the book, I asked Barbara to come on Story Mantra, because there was something about the book and the graphic and about Barbara herself, which I was like, something is itching to get Barbara on. And of course, when I read the book, it was all explained in that book. She's such a beautiful storyteller. So we're going to end the session because, of course, we're out of time. But I did want to thank Barbara for coming on, and she will join us again next week with more interesting things to tell us about the behind the scenes of her publishing journey. And of course, more information on, and I want to pick her brain on the characters next week. So join us again. And thank you so much, Barbara.
thank you for having me, Anju. I loved it.
Thank you.